As the world continues to grapple with the aftermath of a global pandemic, it's becoming increasingly clear that the economic fallout is not something that can be quickly or easily overcome. While the rate of inflation may have slowed down slightly in recent months, the skyrocketing costs of essential goods and services continue to place a heavy burden on the wallets of many Americans. For those of us who strive to stay attuned to the pulse of society, the impact of this inflation surge is all too apparent. We're seeing firsthand how individuals and families are struggling to keep up with the ever-increasing expenses of basic needs like food, housing, and healthcare. It's disheartening to see how financial strain is affecting people's well-being, their ability to access basic necessities, and even their mental health. One of the most concerning aspects of this situation is the stark reality that the rise in prices has led to a significant reduction in purchasing power for many people. When the cost of living increases but wages and salaries remain stagnant, it can cause immense financial stress and anxiety. As people struggle to make ends meet, it's no surprise that they're seeking innovative ways to adapt to these economic changes and stay afloat. This difficult economic environment has created a sense of urgency around finding solutions to these problems. From exploring alternative work arrangements to cutting back on non-essential spending, people are taking action to try and mitigate the impact of rising prices. But for many, these solutions are simply not enough. As the cost of living continues to skyrocket, Americans are feeling the financial squeeze. The Bank of America's 12th Annual Workplace Benefits Report, quote, "Navigating a New Era of Financial Wellness," confirms that 71% of respondents have seen their cost of living far outpace their salaries and wages. The survey, which involved 824 employees and 846 employers in February, showed that people are feeling increasingly stressed about inflation. In February, 58% of people surveyed reported feeling the strain of the rising cost of living. However, by July, that number had surged to 71%, indicating a steady increase in financial strain. The survey also revealed that a staggering 80% of respondents are concerned about their overall financial well-being, with half of those surveyed saying that they have had to make emergency moves to make ends meet. The survey findings indicate that a growing number of people are resorting to drastic measures to make ends meet. For example, 21% of respondents reported working extra hours, while 20% are actively seeking higher wage jobs. Additionally, the report revealed that 6% of people have had to resort to drawing on their 401k retirement savings to make ends meet. These findings highlight the grim reality of the current financial situation faced by many Americans. As a human, it's been tough keeping up with the rising costs of basic needs. According to the August inflation report, prices for everyday essentials like food, clothing, housing, and vehicles have continued to rise, while some costs like energy have decreased. It's worrisome to see that despite strong employment rates, inflation is still on the rise. Middle-class families are feeling the brunt of it as wages fail to keep up with inflation. Last month, inflation rates reached a record high of 9.1%, which is unsettling for many. It's not just a number on a report, it's affecting people's everyday lives. In a recent survey of nearly 1,400 adults, 75% of respondents stated that their income is falling behind the cost of living. Many believe that their financial issues will only continue to grow. A majority of respondents, 61%, think that the economy will be worse off next year. Only 16% believe that they will be better off financially next year than they are this year. Researchers asked families how they're adjusting their budgets to account for the increased cost of living, and the results were eye-opening. Most families are preparing for a recession, with 77% already putting money aside for a rainy day. The survey found that 71% of respondents are cutting back on spending to make ends meet, while 38% have delayed major purchases due to rising interest rates. Additionally, 31% of families are relying more heavily on credit cards to make purchases, which is driving up credit card debt. A June report showed that Americans are already starting to cut back on discretionary spending, such as eating out and traveling, to manage their budgets. Despite the challenges, there are some glimmers of hope on the horizon. One such development is the bill proposed by the D.C. Council Committee to make public transit more affordable and accessible. The proposed $100 monthly grant for buses and subways would provide much-needed relief for families who are struggling to manage their finances. This bill is a step in the right direction towards easing the financial burden on families. For many, transportation is an essential expense that cannot be cut from the budget. By providing financial assistance to cover these costs, families can redirect those funds to other necessary expenses such as groceries or rent. While this bill may seem like a small step, it has the potential to make a significant impact on many families' lives. The proposed legislation could be the difference between being able to afford transportation to work and having to choose between paying bills and putting food on the table. It's essential to recognize that the proposed bill is just one solution to a larger problem. More significant efforts must be made to address the root causes of financial strain for many Americans. Still, the proposed bill is a positive development that demonstrates a commitment to easing the financial burden on families. Thank you for watching this video, and I hope you found the information on the impact of inflation and rising costs on Americans informative, and are having to resort to drastic measures to make ends meet.